In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the all-new 2025 Mini Electric Countryman.
Not just any Mini Electric Countryman, my Mini Electric Countryman. And we're going to find out it really has the heart and soul of a Mini like the previous generations do. So let's get to it, yeah?
My name is Ethan, and this is Nick from the Mini Vlog, and welcome to Car Creations. So in the past, Minis have always been about three things: the quirky styling, the endless customization, and the go-kart driving feel. So as we dive into the electric era, can these Minis still provide the Mini spirit? On the new Minis, what you might notice is that Mini got rid of all chrome. Instead of that, you get this gold or silver trim piece that you have appearing on various spots on the Mini. You also notice on the badge, once again, gone is the chrome. Instead, you have the same color that matches what's around the front bumper.
Another change on the new Countryman are the headlights. You can see now we have this LED surround, which you can choose, and it's a little bit sharper, a little more angular, a little more masculine looking, I guess you could say. But you don't have a trim around it anymore, so you can't change this from chrome or piano black or anything like that. No trim, just one headlight, but it is a really nice light, and we're gonna find out a little bit more in the dark.
And then the front bumper has also gotten a big update. Instead of this frowny face that you got on the previous F60 and the R60, instead you have a front bumper that looks very similar to the rest of the Mini line, which I love because it gives all the Minis now this quirky, very unique Mini look. Also at the bottom, we now have these lines that will open and shut depending on how fast you're going and how much cooling the car needs.
Another change for the U25 Countryman are these sharper, more aggressive body lines we have here around the fenders. And it's a little bit like the GP3 here. If you look at it kind of for a minute, kind of looks like the GP3 blades, same kind of shape, but it gives it a really aggressive look. Looks really sharp.
And then as we come along down the side of the car, once again we have the really big mirrors like we have on the new hatchbacks, and then we now have also a new door handle shape. So before you had one that stuck out, well, now you have one that is flush with the door and looks super modern. Come along back a bit further, you have this blade here, and depends on your trim whether this shows a mountain or just a line, or if it's JCW. And it also has a little all-4 badge right here to show that this is all-wheel drive. So coming to the back, we have the new rear of the car, and we have a new power lift gate, which is the first time for Mini. You just push it there, up it pops, and in here we now have 25 cubic feet of space, and if you put down the seats, we have up to 56 cubic feet of space. And we're almost getting to a point that you can put a mattress back here, and this could be your little camper. Look at that. See, that's almost comfortable to sleep in there.
What is it?
Yeah, okay, let's go.
Good night.
And now this is where we leave him and go home back to Detroit. All in all, the Mini Countryman has quirky styling, and it looks like you should be able to customize some of it, which does hold true to the whole Mini ethos. Except for some people still say that this Mini has lost some of the Mini spark. So let us know in the comments what you think, and if you think that you would want to get the Mini Countryman. All right, let's now go inside and take a look at the interior, because Mini has spent a ton of money designing this, so it better be pretty good. So inside the car, this is where things get a bit different.
Mini threw out the rule book with this interior.
Everywhere you look, there's textured material, and along the dash, there's this knitted cloth fabric that's recycled material. And throughout the car, we have the same kind of textured theme. We have textured aluminum, we have all these different textures everywhere. There's textured plastics. There's probably, I counted 3 or 4 different types of textured plastics just in this interior area right here. But despite all the textures, Mini has gone minimalist with this interior. The layout is a lot more clean and the cabin feel is more airy. However, they still have little things that are definitely Mini touches. For example, from the infotainment system here, it has a little projector that projects little designs and stuff onto the textured fabric on each side of the dash.
So I got to see this car when it came out in Germany a year and a half ago, and the first thing I noticed and the first thing I loved about this car is this gradient. You're going from this petrol, which is the color of this bluish green, to this Chesterfield brown, and it's such a cool design.
And it's really cool that they do fade it to the brown, because that's the same color as the seats. And it definitely ties the interior of the car together in a way that's really nice. So when you get in the car, one of the first things that you see is this huge round center display. And it's kind of like this command center that does everything for your Mini. It handles everything from your speed and mileage all the way to games, which is insane. Although I haven't been able to get Minecraft working yet, so maybe we'll get them working on that in the future. On this infotainment system, you now have a new Mini assistant that you can ask to do anything on your car. You can ask it to turn off the air conditioning, to change tracks. So you just say, hey Spike, and up it pops.
Speaking of Spike and the games are subscription models supposedly in this. So I guess we get a few months free to try it out, and then we gotta start paying. A little bit of a disappointment in this car. It's expensive. I feel like it should be included.
How much is it, do you know?
I think it's $9 a month from what I saw. I haven't looked too much into it yet.
Hey Mini, tell me a joke.
What's a Mini's favorite 20th century art movement?
What?
Minimalism.
They're all mini jokes. They're so corny.
So talking about infotainment, one of the screens that you might notice is now gone is the gauge cluster that's in front of you. And many have completely taken that and thrown it out the window. And instead, you now have a heads-up display and your center screen.
Tech Park Drive.
That is completely fine. However, not all minis are spec'd with the heads-up display. So you'd only be relying on your center screen for your speed and mileage and all that kind of stuff. Heads-up display is super nice. I've had it on previous cars and I never looked at my cluster, so it makes sense that you'd get rid of the cluster. But I would say that the heads-up display really needs to be standard on these minis. So the steering wheel is thick and almost some would say too thick. The buttons do feel really nice and textured though, and they make nice tactile sounds when you use them. Oop, I'm turning Spike on and off. On the bottom of the steering wheel, we have this little fabric strap, and it changes depending on your model and how you've spec'd it. But in this one, it says nice charcoal color. One of my favorite features is lighting everywhere, which we're now gonna cut to nighttime so I can show you the lighting all over this car, because this car just completely comes alive at night. So at nighttime, there are many different options that you have for the mood lighting. There are different colors that correlate to the experience that you're in on your car. So whether it's in sport mode or what have you, it will correspond to that. If you go to your custom mode, where you can change the background picture of the mode, it will actually change the color of the mood lighting. Another thing that you can customize are the lights. So you can change your headlight between 3 different options. Also, you can change the tail light from a cross to a Union Jack, or a combination of both. All right, back to daytime, and now let's check the rear for legroom. I put Nick, the owner of this car, back there because he'll never go back there, and he's gonna be showing us around the rear of the car.
Okay, so here we are in the back of the Countryman. I'm not gonna ride back here very much, if at all, but there's plenty of space back here. I'm not the tallest person in the world, but I have a ton of leg room with the seat all the way forward. When it's back in the comfortable driving position for Ethan, there's still plenty of room. What's nice, we also have a nice armrest in the middle now with some cup holders. The material is really nice, and we get some climate controls back here as well for our little vents, along with 2 USB-C ports to charge our devices.
One of the nice things about being a driver is that you have a massage seat, and it feels so good. I'm just gonna sit here for a couple minutes, and we'll catch up to you in a minute.
That's where you put in that SpongeBob one.
Yeah, exactly. Thinking about it, it feels just like a normal gas car. You don't really hear the gas cars these days with how quiet the exhausts are, and the only way that you know it's electric is if you kind of, you know, stomp on it from a stop sign. Instant torque. That is so much fun. Going over the speed bumps, the suspension actually handles it pretty good. And also one of the things I really like about the cabin is that it's super easy to see. The previous Countryman, I feel like, it had a little bit of a blind spot when you went to do a shoulder check. But in this car, it's pretty impressive. It sounds like, depending on the mode, the acceleration sound is different.
Yeah. Definitely different.
And go-kart. For the performance of the car, I really like how well it handles around corners. It is a very heavy beast. Acceleration, you can accelerate into all the corners and it just tucks right in. It's a hoot to drive. I think I actually prefer driving this than the gas F66 Cooper S, which is insane. I never thought I'd be saying that, but it just has a lot more pep. What I like about the petrol hatch is that it has a exhaust note, but you can't really hear it on that car. So you might as well just go for an electric car that has the instant torque and is super fun to drive. So the electric Countryman has 308 horsepower, which is more than the GP3, and that's impressive. And the range on this car, which is really important for an electric car and something that everyone all talks about, is 213, and that is a lot more than the previous electric Mini. So one of the things that I love about electric cars is the instant torque. The JCW Countryman, I haven't driven it, but one of the biggest complaints that people have is that it has more horsepower than this car. It has a quicker 0 to 60 time, but it still feels slower. And I think the reason behind that is it doesn't have the instant torque. This car just pulls you back in the seat, and it's a lot of fun to drive. The last thing I want to talk about with the driving feel is the sound. So obviously they pump in this electric sound, which we've been talking about and we've been trying out a little bit, and that is a ton of fun. I still really miss the pops and burbles of the previous generation. Don't think that will ever come back, which is sad. However, these sounds do make it a lot more fun to drive. And my favorite sound above all is the timeless experience. So just to hear it one more time. It sounds like a spaceship.
The driving experience is better than I expected it to be. I knew it wasn't going to be GP level, but it almost exceeds that in terms of like the quick acceleration, the instant acceleration. And it handles really well. I think they did a good job of keeping the weight lower. You know, you feel it's a heavier car.
Yeah. Especially
Especially when you brake. But they kept the weight low enough that it still handles, I think, almost the same as the U25 ice-powered Countryman. So, Ethan, does this car maintain the Mini spirit? Yes or no?
Well, I think that it does, but the answer is a little bit guarded because this car is a lot wider, it's a lot longer, it's heavier, it's taller. It's a bit of a stretch to say that it is actually a Mini, although it is definitely still a Mini in branding because it has the quirky nature of a Mini. It is fun to drive. As far as customization goes, I think your options are going to be pretty limited. Even in the configurator online, it's really hard to come up with a configuration that's going to be different than everyone else out there. And so, Nick, you ended up buying the car. What do you think about this?
Obviously, I put my money where my mouth is. I think this is a fun car to drive. I think that's the key to keeping it the Mini spirit. It is still a really fun car to drive. Obviously, it's different. It is bigger and it is, you know, wider and longer, but it's still fun to drive. Go test out your car by your local dealership and let us know in the comments below.
So the question arises, should you buy the 2025 Mini Electric Countryman? Well, if you need a bigger Mini and you love the Mini vibe, this car is absolutely for you. So this car is Nick's, as we said in this video, and if you head over to the Mini Vlog channel, I'm sure he's gonna post a ton of content on there. So subscribe to that if you wanna see more content on this exact car.
And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this video. Let us know what you think down in the comments below about this car, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you out there.